Welcome to the Winning with Shopify podcast. This is the podcast to help you scale your Shopify store into a money-making machine. Email has the highest ROI of all marketing channels. Are you maximizing its potential and growing your list? Drive conversions and create more connections with Seguno, the top-rated email marketing platform built exclusively for Shopify. Seguno is offering Winning with Shopify listeners an extended free trial, plus a complimentary strategy session with an email marketing expert. Visit seguno.com/winningwithshopify to claim your offer. Now, over to your host, Nick Truman.
Hi everybody and welcome to the Winning with Shopify podcast. For anyone that's not tuned in before, my name's Nick. It's a pleasure to have you tuning in. There is a subscribe button and also a 5-star review button that is available on every single podcasting platform that we push this out to. Your job is to click the 5-star and to click subscribe. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. If it's your first time, welcome. And if this is not for you, that is absolutely fine. But it's a pleasure to have you tuning in and we're delighted to have you listening to today's show. If you've been tuning in for a while, welcome back. We still, as I say every week, we still want to hear from you guys. We're getting a nice little flood of emails coming in at the moment. So if you want to, go and check out our website, winningwithshopify.com. Fill out any of the forms and ask any questions you want, especially on email. So today is the next episode in our 3-month series we're doing on email, and we're going to be covering a lot of other topics as well. We're not just covering email and rehashing the same things. We've got quite a few topics coming up with our lovely sponsors at Seguno. We've got a few face-to-face podcast recordings coming up as well, so you can go on the YouTube channel if you want to check that out. And also check out our Instagram feed at the moment as well. I haven't quite got as far as TikTok, but I am updating our Instagram every few days, talking about things like GA4, Shopify updates, updates on Google, Facebook, Meta, etc. So make sure you go and check those things out. Today I've got a very special guest. His name is Rob, and he's from a business called NEXT FPV. So Rob, without further ado, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nick. It's an absolute pleasure to be on the show, and looking forward to having a chat.
Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to have you with us. And first time Rob has been on a podcast as well, guys. So keep the comments nice and polite. And we're going to be very friendly to Rob today. Really appreciate your time to come on here, Rob. All of our guests who come on here, we always ask before we dive into things, just give us a little background to yourself and also tell us about the business as well, how you started and what you guys are doing today.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nick. So a little bit of background on myself. I started my life as a computer technician in my teens and sort of cut my teeth on that and found my way into sales and been running my business for the last just on 10 years, and we do drones. That's our biggest market. So, but basically FPV stands for first person view, and we sort of specialise in the racing side of things and a little bit on the commercial side of stuff as well.
Amazing. And an interesting niche as well. I mean, it's not the same as some of our guests who come on and they sell T-shirts or your more traditional kind of Shopify store. So interesting. And I guess the big question is, how did you guys kind of start off? Like, what was the first thing that got the business up and running? Like when you went from kind of idea to now we have a business and we're actually doing something and actually starting to trade?
Yeah, it's interesting. It was pretty much just on 10 years ago. I was at my mum's 60th birthday, and I was chatting with my uncle, and I said, sort of looking for a hobby because I was, looking for something else to do rather than, drive motorbikes or ride motorbikes and do that kind of stuff. And he said, you should get into drones. Your cousin's into it, and he's got a website, and you should jump on, have a look, and make your own. So I, a couple of months later, I bought some stuff off the internet from China and spent a month putting together a drone and thought, this is really cool. Like this is going to be big. It's exciting. It's cool to build something yourself and actually see it fly. And I also heard about, after doing research on the internet, about having a camera and having goggles. So being able to have a live video feed back to your goggles. And I thought, wow, this is going to take over for sure. It's going to be huge. So I was on a holiday at the time in Hawaii, and I thought I better start by registering a business name. So that's where sort of NEXT FPV came from.
Nice. I mean, I wish I'd gone to Hawaii when I started my first business to do the registration, but no, really cool. And so, just a quick question on product then. So you said that you can put a camera on the drone and then wear goggles. So is it almost like virtual reality, but it's real reality? So your eyes then become the drone's eyes. So you can see almost like you're flying then as the drone is. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So you've got camera on the drone. It's giving you a live feedback as you fly it with your remote control, and it is like you just said. It's like you're actually on the aircraft, and you get that sensation of flying. And that's really that draw for people is quite huge because you can. I suppose you've got, and to make it a sport as well, being able to fly fast without actually any danger of hurting yourself is another big draw
Yeah.
card as well. So,
Yeah,
it's quite exciting
absolutely.
for a lot of people. And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is that safety element, isn't there? I shudder to think what would happen if someone put me in charge of a helicopter or a plane or something. I wouldn't know what I'm doing at all. But awesome. And so, yeah, it's interesting as well. You mentioned the sort of sports element because when I think about drones, I often think about someone just making a video or maybe like an estate agent, for example, in real estate, just getting a shot of a building from up above to put on the website. But actually, I mean, you make a really good point. There must be a whole world actually out there of sport. And the reason I'm asking is not just purely out of interest, but actually that must relate into your marketing as well, in terms of actually harnessing that and talking about that on social channels about drone racing, drone obstacle courses, all that sort of stuff.
yeah. Well, we've sort of from the day dot. I think we had in Queensland here one of the first drone races or sort of organised events that people came to fly together. I think we had at that time maybe two flags and one set of gates or something to fly around on. So it wasn't
Hmm.
super technical course or very organised, but it was still a bunch of people getting together that were interested in the same thing. And that's sort of burgeoned on now to, every year there's a big drone race in Muncie, Indiana. So
Hmm.
where I think they have, hundreds of pilots come. I've been there a couple of times myself, flown over for that. And yeah, it's sort of one of those almost an e-sport now that's become quite popular. And is televised. I think they've had it on ESPN and a few other channels. So yeah, it's interesting to see where it's come in the last 10
Oh,
years
wow.
as well.
Wow, I mean it's a whole world I didn't know about, but it makes a lot of sense. It's good fun, and I guess nice. And again, kind of going with that theme then of talking about like the sort of stories. So, racing is a good angle on this, as much as people just using drones for other purposes. But how much do you try and bring that to life then in things like your email campaigns, your social media, your website content, guides, and blog posts? Do you make that kind of like a core focus of things, or do you stay generally quite focused on product and the tech side?
Um, we, yeah, occasionally we do sort of bring in that if there's a race coming up or an event coming up, we will bring that into the email strategy. Especially with people going to races, they may need batteries or they may need supplies, so we make sure that we try and target or come in a couple of weeks early to say, hey, if you're going to this event, don't forget to stock up on your batteries or propellers or whatever
Yeah.
you might need for the race. We do have a really wide range of customers. So it's funny, it's not just the drone side of things. We also have fixed wing planes customers as well, and
Right.
then the commercial side of it. So that's actually one of the things that we've started doing with Seguno as well, which has been interesting, is the segmenting. But I think we'll probably talk about that later. But yeah, it's not always
Yeah.
focused on the racing side of things, but it is a big component of our offerings, I guess, or products.
Yeah, absolutely. And I often describe marketing as being like you almost need this run of dominoes, almost like the stars aligning. You need the right product, right time, right price, right location, right communication, etc. So I think, as you say, like if people are going to a racing event, getting the right batteries in stock for that, I think is amazing. And as much as the other elements you just mentioned as well. So I mean, yeah, let's talk about segmentation and email then. So you mentioned you've got quite a few different types of customer. How do you guys go about segmentation? Like, and I guess the big question here on my mind really is: do you use data to do it? Do you look at the numbers and go, "This is a good way to kind of put people into different groups," or do you just kind of split them, send some emails out specific to the way you've split them, and see what happens?
It's interesting because we've only just started doing it, so we're still working out what the
Okay.
best way to do it is. Though, sort of seeing previous sales, we know our commercial customers, a certain group of customers, so we group them into that segment just by knowing what they've purchased before and actually knowing our customer database pretty well. And then, if we've got guys that sort of people that mainly focus on fixed wing aircraft. We kind of know those customers well and what they actually buy. So there's kind of some indicators in the sales, so we get to know which segments they're in. One of the things I was actually going to talk to the guys from Seguno about was sending out, I guess, an email that gives people like, hey, what are you interested in, so that we can actually get customers segment themselves. Would be something that would be interesting to do too, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds fascinating. And we had there's a guy called Ben Leonard we've had on the show a few times. So if that's not a new name to you, well done for tuning into lots of episodes. But Ben was talking specifically about that. So he used to run an online gym shop selling weights and other stuff to do with kind of fitness through a company called Beast Gear that he founded and eventually sold. And he sent an email that kind of had these like almost like these three things where they literally just asked people on an email, like 1, 2, 3, which one are you, it most relates to you? And apologies, Ben, if you're listening, I'm not going to do this justice at all, but I think they were like, they're just the enthusiast that just goes to the gym. There was the one who's training for things and specifically going, right, I'm doing events like an Ironman or a park run or a marathon or something. I need to specifically train for that. And then there was the third person that I think was just a bulk trainer. So they had different types of products that they would buy. So they literally just asked everyone and said, what kind of training do you do? To which they even started using bits of AI on things like Facebook Messenger to then ask those questions, or to say, why did you buy from us recently? Or what are you looking to buy next? Or how's your gym training going? Is there anything specific that you need at the moment? And using something like AI or a chatbot means you can kind of do that on bulk and on mass rather than sending individual messages, which is going to get very time consuming. But certainly, I think asking customers is something that a lot of merchants that are kind of 10, 15 years down the road say that they do it several times a year. And we had a lady called Janice on as well from Look Fabulous Forever, and she was saying that they actually send a survey out. Again, I forget the frequency, but it was a few times a year, no more than quarterly. And they just ask survey questions to customers. But they always sort of send the survey out as well, saying, last time we sent out a survey, we listened to you. We've now launched these new products, or we've actually created these bundles now, or we have a new range. We know you spoke, we listened, we've got this new range. Could you fill out the next questionnaire so we know what to give you guys next? And that creates like an amazing engagement. But I think, as you say, I think starting to segment customers is, hence my question, it's not an easy process, is it?
No, there's definitely some thought that needs to be put into it. And it's definitely a time-based thing where you need to sit down and go, right, what type of customer is going to buy this product, or what segment is going to buy this type of product, and work out without excluding them from perhaps a product that they might buy anyway, even if it's not related particularly to what they do. So it's not a scary thing to do, segmentation, but it's certainly important. I mean, one of the other things that we do is, an easy segmentation for us is to go, right, we're not going to market batteries outside of Australia because we can't ship batteries outside of Australia. So that's a really easy segmentation, is location-based. Or if it's a really heavy product or something that's going to be really bulky that we're not going to be able to send overseas, that's going to make sense, then we can also sort of segment that out as well.
That makes a lot of sense. Nice. Yeah. I guess the other thing with segmentation as well, and you kind of touched on this a little bit there, and this is one thing I hate about marketing, but also love. It gives me a bit of an edge, but it also is really difficult. And that's that humans are so irrational. You can literally give someone the perfect user journey, and they're like, they could buy. I mean, so I'll give you a really hypothetical and kind of quite hilarious example, but just to make the point, you could have a customer who buys a new T-shirt every day for 5,000 days on the trot, and you send an email on day 5,001, and they buy a pair of shorts. And it's like, just because you've interrupted that process and said, here's our T-shirts, it's 3 p.m, you haven't bought yet today, and they buy a pair. They don't click on your email, they just go on the site themselves and buy a pair of shorts. Humans can be so irrational, and so I think certainly once you've segmented, I imagine the content you're planning as well, you must be thinking that, okay, just because we want to push racing drone parts to this audience because we think they're into racing, again, using that as a good example here, although we want to push that, you're probably thinking we also don't want to exclude other things and actually almost position ourselves to them as purely a drone racing company, when actually we have a lot of other stuff, and these people are probably using drones other times as well. This is probably just the Saturday hobby, and actually we might need to cater for their commercial job as well, Monday to Friday.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. We've got a lot of customers that are have been in drone racing or still are in drone racing that might be in cinematography now. So they've sort of gone from that made that transition from being a racing drone, a drone racer, to now being using their skills for cinematography, or they might go into using it for mapping, and they're still going to buy their drone racing stuff from us, but they also might go into the commercial side of things as well. So yeah, the segmentation, I think it's a little bit of a tricky balance to make sure you get it right. You also don't obviously want to send something that's completely irrelevant, or the customer can't purchase, or doesn't make sense for them to purchase, to their email and keep spamming it, because then you're just going to get your unsubscribes, which is sort of the scary part of your campaigns. If you're getting it wrong, you know pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I guess the thing you don't have on email, but we have on, like, for example, on Google Shopping, is because we upload a Google Shopping feed, Google looks at that, they crawl the landing pages, and we get Google pushing back on things, and quite rightly so, saying you've currently got all these products available for pre-order in your feed, but when we land on the site, it actually says back order, and then when we add it to cart, we can not purchase it because it's out of stock. So on email, you don't get that, do you? Because they're two independent systems. The email, you just kind of send it out, and then the customer gets frustrated. So you almost need to be even more on on top of your game. And I think as well, like you were saying about you can't send batteries outside of Australia. There's also the element of don't advertise a product where you've only got 3 left. Don't send that to 50,000 customers, because you're going to sell out immediately, which then means it's only the first 3 that buy it are going to get it. More dangerous than that, everyone's then getting this email going, you've told me to buy this product, I'm adding it to cart, and now I can't purchase it. And it's like, you've just annoyed me. You've wasted my time and you've annoyed me with an offer I can't use. So that's a really obvious one, but I think you're absolutely right. You need to make sure that journey is there and that the customer can purchase it at the other side.
Yeah, look, we've had cases that, it's been a really popular product, or even had something on back order and had customers email say, hey, I really wanted to buy this. And now you're out of stock. I hate you guys now. Not hate you guys, but I'm really upset. And
this is going to take weeks again. For me to get over. Yeah.
Yeah. So 100%, yes. Advertising something with 1 left in stock, maybe not a great idea, unless you're, I suppose, trying to build some urgency into purchasing other products. But I don't think that's a very straightforward way to build your long-term customer database.
Yeah, I guess the only caveat I would say, just the thought, is you could send out pretty much like an out-of-stock product, but with a pre-order. If you knew the stock had left the factory and was on its way to you, and in 2 weeks we're going to have it, you could do an email run saying our most popular product, or one of our most popular products, is coming back in stock in 2 weeks' time. It's on its way here. Reserve yours now because we're expecting it to sell out immediately. But as a value customer, we're giving you exclusive access, which means you're kind of coupling all the marketing with I actually just want everything that's in that shipping container, I want it sold before it arrives, which means the money's in the bank. I've already paid for the stock, so if I could sell it before it's even reached our shores, great. And again, as you say, it starts to create a bit of that urgency, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those double-edged swords as well. Like, we went away from pre-orders because of it is a long way. Australia's a long way from anywhere. And we tend to we're sort of the forgotten cousin of the rest of the world, because we're not, such a big consumer of goods in comparison to, say, the States or the UK or Europe. We kind of get that. We sort of do get forgotten occasionally. So, the bulk of some kind of products or new products that have come to market will get shipped to the USA first, because they've got the big stores, because they've got, the biggest, I guess, the database of people or customers and such. So yeah, we've always been super careful with pre-orders and letting people down, because, if you say it's going to be there on the 19th of July, or sorry, the 19th of August, or some date that you hoped for it to be there, it's an ETA, you will have to live and die by that sword. And there's nothing worse than an upset customer having to do a refund. It's something we absolutely avoid like the plague.
Yeah, exactly. And from the refund point of view, I mean, just irrespective to email, you and I and everybody else, we work so hard to get a customer to click on an advert, come into a website, or click on anything, come into a website and purchase a product. And so if you've got to refund that product, it's just horrendous. I think we had a situation actually with a client a while ago, just on the refunds, where we asked them for a database of all the things they were refunding, and we realized there was a particular product, which I think was men's shirts. They had a weird sizing rule for men's shirts. And then when you look at the sizing chart, you'd literally go, okay, this is what's called a size 50. but that can't be inches or centimeters, which in the UK we've kind of got the imperial and the metric here. But yeah, it's not inches, it's not centimeters. And then you look at the sizing guide and you're like, I'm looking at a 50. So either this is like double XS for small, or it's like triple XL large, XXL large, sorry, XXXL large. That doesn't make any sense, and people were returning so many items. So then that flagged that, okay, shirts are being returned more than anything else, because we cross-referenced all that data with the collections and categories within Shopify by doing an export, lots of formulas in a spreadsheet. What we then did is we then realized that the reason there were so many returns is on those orders were much larger and the return wasn't 100%. So what people were doing was ordering 5 sizes and going, that's my size, sending 4 back, and then purchasing more in that same size, knowing that I'm now a 53 size. I'm going to order 3 or 4 shirts now in 53. It's a clunky journey, but it showed that the customers love this brand so much. And the products were quite unique. Those shirts, for example, were like anti-insect. They were also anti-swear, anti-crease. So good if you're out on an adventure, on a safari, or you can't pack a lot sort of thing. So good product, and people were doing that, but simple change. Just sort your flipping pricing out. Your sizing. Sort the sizing out and just go, this is our sizing. And then when you click on size chart, have it go, this is our sizing. So 53 is a men's medium. That's normal. Chest size in inches, chest size centimeter. Go with that and put small, medium, large, not, which they vary from retailer to retailer. But I think getting that information right is so key.
I feel for clothing retailers or manufacturers with sizing and the amount of returns that I've seen friends and family with, order a bunch of clothes and, half of it doesn't fit, and the amount of returns that they must do and the cost for that must be huge. So avoiding any of that would definitely be a positive. But how they can afford to all the postage costs and the refunds, etc. It must be a bit of a journey.
Yeah, and also cleaning the product so you can then continue to sell that product, so you don't have to write off the stock as well. Yeah, it's not an easy process. Can vouch for that. Let's rewind then. So we're talking about segmentation, which, as you say, is something quite new. Let's go back a little bit. What sort of stuff worked initially on email? When was the first time you started using email? What were some of the initial emails you sent? For anyone listening who's like, I'm not doing enough email at the moment, I know I need to. Where did you start?
So we're going back sort of 9 years. I knew. Okay. As soon as because of my previous experience with an employer, they'd made it. Always to collect emails was one of the biggest things. All customers that walk in the door always click their email, always collect the data, so that we can email to them, because email is one of the most powerful forms of marketing, and it's direct to the inbox. It's not a text message, which is, I think, sometimes very intrusive. Yeah. Whereas email is a lot less intrusive, and you can get, I think, a lot more data out to your customers as well, or in terms of pictures, text, links. So it's a lot more powerful, I think. I started with MailChimp many years ago, because that was sort of the only thing that was available back 8 or 9 years ago. And really, it was we were sort of in such a niche market. Any email we sent went really well, because we were one of the first in the industry with stock. And it was just about a matter of actually having the stock. But I think it's a matter of just suck it and see. Send out the email, see what kind of response you get from customers. Maybe even if you're starting out, hey guys, this is our first email. Please tell us what you want to see more of. Be honest with your customers. They want to give you feedback. They want to see that you're a real business and that you do care about what you send them. That you're not trying to annoy the heck out of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I was going to say on that is I did get an email about 6-7 years ago, and it was something I bought on like Indiegogo or Kickstarter or something. So it was like one of these like, oh, that's a cool device. I'll buy it. Forget I've bought it. Wait 6 months, and then something just turns out. I go, oh yeah, I remember ordering that. I have to admit, I've banned myself from going on them, but now I'm thinking about it, I'm quite keen to go on at lunch today and have a quick look.
I think we've all done the Kickstarter stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We can all waste a lot of money on that.
12 months later, you're like, yeah, do I really still want this? And you always order two. It's an extra one. It's not that much more expensive. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. A
been there,
phone
done that
charger
myself.
that gives
Yep.
me a back massage. Yeah, it's random devices. But the crazy thing was, I can't remember what I'd ordered now, but I'd obviously ended up on their email list, and I got 2 or 3 emails over there. I think it was like 2 or 3 months while I was waiting for this thing to arrive. But the first email that got sent out literally was just a picture taken on somebody's webcam with a group of people, all kind of, a few sitting down, a few kind of standing up, leaning in, all looking like this and all trying to click the keyboard at the same time. And I was like, what the heck is this? It's so unprofessional. Scrolled down and literally what you just said, the heading on it was like, here is a picture of us sending our first email out to customers. And I scrolled back up and went, that's quite cool, actually. And it actually had they all wear name badges. So it said like Dave,
Yeah.
the managing director, and like Maggie, who's the marketing assistant and stuff. And then it was like Janet, who's the cleaner. Like they're all looking like, how do we send an email? And I thought it was really funny, actually. And like you say, it's just that it's nothing more authentic, is there, than just going. So our first email, what do you guys want to hear about from us? What would you like to know? And what they did is they actually had a quiz on it. So you could take the quiz and find out what you do and don't know. And they said, based on the response to the quiz and how many questions people get right, we will then decide what we're going to send out next. So nobody actually knew where they were based, but they were based in this amazing location in the UK, up in the hills. And they actually had a cable car outside there, outside the office, which I didn't even realise there were cable cars in the UK. I didn't think we need them because we've got no ski slopes or stuff, certainly in England, maybe a few in Scotland. But the whole thing kind of evolved from there, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. I think it's a really good idea. What sort of emails are you sending out kind of since the first one then, and kind of pre-segmentation? What's that journey look like for you guys?
I guess it's so easy to fall into that, just sending out products. Here's a product. This is the price. We have definitely changed over the years. I'm just trying to think back over the previous sort of, I don't know, I would have sent 200 or 300 emails over the last 10 years, maybe more. I guess we're trying to personalise them a little bit more and make it so that our customers know that we're not just not just an online selling business, that we are actually, there is people behind the business that do care, and that we do have good customer support, and that, hey, we do actually care that you're safe on the roads at Christmas time, and we do see that the pandemic was a challenge for a lot of people. So I guess we're sort of personalising things a little bit more, so that we're being a little bit more real than just being product focused. But actually coming up with the content can be a little bit of a challenge at times. And one of my staff members always says to me, he's like, Rob, I don't know where you come up with this stuff. And it's like, it's one of those things that you kind of just have to do. It's not something you can get away with. I think if you're not emailing your customers, and marketing to your customers via email, I think it's a surefire way to not have a successful business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to jump back to something you said in your previous answer as well, to my other question about the fact that you were the only ones doing it initially. That's really powerful as a niche. I mean, obviously, as time goes on, every industry gets more and more saturated, and you're probably one of lots now. Drones are a much more widely used thing than they were sort of 7 to 10 years ago. But being in that niche must have given you a real edge as well. I imagine your first few emails must have been so much more educational than anything else, going, we're in this brave new world. There are drones. You can fly without flying. And explaining to people, like, here's what a drone does, how to service it. There must have been some really cool content to put out back then. Whereas I imagine you're probably struggling. You might tell me completely the opposite, but I'd assume you were struggling more now, going, we've sent 200 or 300 emails out. What do we say next?
Yeah, 100% right. There's a lot more bloggers, I guess, now, and with a lot of YouTube tutorials, and quite a lot of big names that have got that sort of 100, 200,000 subscriber count for YouTube that explain, how everything works and what you should be buying. So, and if you are at all wrong in this industry, you will get pointed out straight away. Our customers aren't shy. They love that. They're absolutely happy to point out, hey, you're not right about this. This is not how it works. Or, I hate that product, or I don't like that product because
thanks,
of this
customer.
or that. And our customers are really well educated. We've got
good.
It's very technically, most of them, 99% of them are super technically minded, and a good, how do you put, they're usually internet power users, I guess, and, very computer literate. So yeah, even on social media, you have to make sure that if you're going to publish anything or have an opinion, you need to be
It's got to be right.
fairly, yeah, you need to be right. And even in our emails, we're very careful to make sure that if we don't know something, we find out, we research, and we give the customers the right information, because it's important. The support side of it, is what we built the business on, and looking after people.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing with the internet these days. There's always somebody ready to correct if something was wrong. I mean, I don't know about you. I follow stuff in the UK like Fact Check, and anything that's said in the press, there's always a sort of, well, it's not wrong, but there's a lot of context that would disagree with them, but they're not wrong, especially politicians. Let's talk about personalization then. So you mentioned about personalizing them a bit, and whether it's telling people to stay safe out on the roads, or trying to stay cool in the middle of what you guys call summer. We call it winter here, different hemisphere, but what you guys call summer. In fact, a lot of people do travel from the UK to Australia for 3 or 4 months in the middle of the winter here, to get some sun, which is cool. But how do you start to personalize them? Do you tend to do it on a sort of something's going on in the world and we send that same message to everybody, or do you actually personalize it to each user, or to, you obviously mentioned segmentation. It's coming up, but how do you guys go about personalization?
I suppose personalisation, one of the easiest things to do is use the name inside in the subject line, which is important. That's a really nice one to use. Mm-hmm. I suppose just being real with their customers. Again, if there's an event coming up, we'll talk about it, that we're going to be there. That we do support FPV racing in Australia when we can, where we can. And I guess that we do actually care about the industry. It's something that we've been along the journey the whole way. It's still something I'm working on, I'll be completely honest. My email game isn't 100%. I think if you're not still learning things and adapting and evolving, then you're not really in business. But it's something that I'm still working on. 100%. It's the personalisation side of things. You can be too personal too sometimes. I think you need to, I suppose, have that line between too much information or too much personalisation and not, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you're absolutely right. Marketing is never finished. And on that topic of marketing, how much do you guys align your email with other channels? Like, do you find if somebody followed you on Facebook and any other channels you're using, email, and looked at your blog, are all those things tend to be exactly the same? Do you keep them different? So there's a reason people go on them? Do you just have them working completely in silo, or do you have like the same message but different depths of content?
In terms of social media and email and...
Yeah. So does the same message go out on an email, on a Facebook post, on a blog post? Is that the same thing, same day?
It's interesting you ask that, Nick. I went through the phase where we would post the email into Facebook automatically. There's an auto repost into Facebook. I'll be honest with you. I think there's so much noise on socials. There's so much advertising. I don't even know if it works that well anymore. I think it's been so... I think people are almost getting to the stage where there's been too much social media exposure, especially over COVID. I think people are sitting at home. And I don't even know if that's... if it's really working for us anymore. It could be because I don't have a social media manager. I'm the one that does it.
Yeah.
And it's probably something I should measure more, but I definitely find... they are, you're right, they are in their own ecosystem, or currently they are in their own ecosystems. Occasionally, if we have a big sale like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we're going to touch on anyway, definitely would go into a Facebook post and an Instagram post and have an email out all at the same time, or, within certain times. But actually, doing that email side of things and Facebook and Instagram at once isn't something I have been doing lately. I'll be totally honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got a really valid point there. There are definitely still brands doing well on social. TikTok seems to be like this kind of big untouched. You can get 100,000 views on a video very quickly. I've not done it myself. I'm not in the TikTok world yet, as much as my staff keep telling me I should be. But there is a lot of noise. And the first thing that sprung to mind when you said that, actually, and a lot of people listening, you might not be aware of this, but years ago, if you posted on Facebook, on your Facebook business page, it would go out to pretty much everybody. Depending on how far they scroll in the feed, they would see it. And the feed used to be done by time. So you could go into your feed and you'd be like, I last logged onto my Facebook feed 12 hours ago. And I could go from 12 hours ago up till now and just see everything, everyone I follow. Facebook realized that people are getting bored and tired and changed the algorithm now. So Facebook decides what to show, which now means, I haven't checked the stats in the last couple of years, but when they made that big change, it was about 5% of your audience you would actually show to. Which imagine for a second, your Facebook audience is basically another audience like email. But you're sending an email out and only 5% of people are seeing it because Facebook, being the email domain at this, they decide, it could be like Gmail, for example, or Hotmail. They're deciding what stuff to show and what not to show. And they are, as you say, Rob, they are absolutely favoring advertising, which is a problem. It's different on things like YouTube. If you subscribe to something on YouTube and that channel posts, you get a notification. Instagram is the same as Facebook, but it's similar. So they will still vet what is seen, which is why you see so many Instagram accounts with 150,000 followers, but like 30 likes per post. And you're like, everybody likes this brand. Everyone's following this brand. This brand are posting regularly. Why is it not being seen? And it's because Facebook wants you to pay to see there. So I do completely agree with you, Rob. I think there are still ways to get something to go viral. But I've certainly seen our clients, and it's not something we directly do, but I've seen a lot of our client stuff. Either it goes viral or it gets completely missed. And it's like, there's not much in between there. Like, you're talking 100,000 views on a video on Facebook or nothing. And it is a real problem, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's. I won't say I'll be giving up on Facebook and Instagram because that's crazy, but it's certainly not at the moment a focus of our marketing, I suppose, expenditure or time, because I just don't think, in comparison to email, it's worth the investment as such at the moment. And TikTok. Yeah, agreed. I've resisted the urge to install it on my phone because, social media does take up so much of your time already. There's that doom scrolling and all that kind of stuff. I've kind of resisted. It's like, I'm not another social media platform to be checking on every day. And I think, you're exactly right. I think that's where, if it's going to be viral. That being said, we are a little bit more niche. So, if it was, say, a product that was for a beginner, or, it was a mass-produced product that was, for, let's say, kids between, 7 and 12, then absolutely TikTok would make a lot of sense for us. But I think at the moment it doesn't, in terms of what our product offerings are.
Yeah, absolutely. And that will probably change over time. I think the platforms you always kind of get these early adopters. And like Facebook, for example, is becoming an older and older audience. So there's not a lot of younger people joining it. So the audience is naturally getting older by like 0.8 years per year on average. So not a lot of younger people are joining it. So TikTok might go the same way. You might find actually TikTok is a good audience for you in 5-10 years time. The only thing I would caveat, I just sudden thought on Facebook actually, and I know we're supposed to talk about email today, we'll come back to email in a sec, but Facebook groups, that does tend to be a good place, but only when they're like unbranded. So if you guys were to start your own Facebook group, some businesses do it, and they do it well, where they can get a group of customers engaging on that Facebook group. It tends to be more like a focus group that are advising that client on, okay, you've just launched this, or that merchant, sorry, you've just launched this new product. Here's what we all think of it. And that's it's quite like a niche sort of specific ring fence thing. But I'm on quite a few Facebook groups, and I get notified when anyone posts on the Facebook group. And some of them have like 50 to 100,000 people in them who are regular active members. So that could be quite a good way to do it. But again, why do that when you could just send an email and you can control the whole thing? I guess Facebook, you just get people engaging, which could go either way, which could be fun.
Yeah, we do have our own Facebook group, next FPV pilots group chat, I think it's called, or pilot chat, that we can post into. Yeah.
Yep.
That we do post into, if there's an event coming up, or, we do have a big sale, and again, that is something that we definitely will post to, and there's a couple of other groups that we will post into, advertisement links, etc. So we do that from time to time, but certainly, I guess posting on Facebook 3 or 4 times a day is not something that we or just the general Facebook postings isn't something that we concentrate on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, last thing to talk about then, and we'll come into land on this as well then, is you mentioned segmentation already. What are you guys planning next? Like, what are some of the things you're aware of on Seguno, or things you're trying to do as a business on email right now? Like, what's next for you guys? Where do you think things are going?
I really want to, I guess, make it's just something I've thought about is, again, make our emails, I get a little bit more content driven, so that we're not just selling stuff to our customers, that hey, we've got some information on this, or we want to invite you to this, or I guess being a little bit more informative without repeating, something someone's already done on a Facebook group or a YouTube or something like that. So yeah, it is something it's been on my mind to be, I guess, be relevant, and have that, I suppose, that point of difference in your emails, that you're not just another company ramming something down someone's neck. That's something that I'd like to focus on, and I'm still working it out, Nick. It's it's like with any business. No matter how long you've been in it, you're always working at the next thing to do, or working out how to be better at what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with the answer of just saying, well, we're just going to keep testing stuff until we find something new and something else works. That's perfectly, it's a perfectly good answer, and I think probably a very good way for people to approach it. I'd almost be quite shocked if you sort of said, right, year 1 we're doing this, year 2 we're doing this, year 3 we're doing this. I years ago stopped, not just with marketing, but with everything. I've pretty much stopped planning too far ahead. So I know what good looks like. I know if we're doing well or not, but it's like you need to look backwards as much as you're looking forwards, because otherwise you set this big plan and say, right, email needs to be 80% of all of our revenue. It's like, well, that's stupid, because that means we're just going to turn all our marketing off. And next thing you know, that's all gone. So email as a percentage is now higher, but the whole business is going bankrupt. It's like, you've got to keep these things in context, I think. So it's, I think the view of like, well, if email stopped working for us, we'd move to something else, is also perfectly legitimate. It's working. And I think, as you say, bringing more content to the forefront to test it, I think makes a lot of sense. Sounds good.
Yeah. And look, we, went from another email company, or email marketing company, to Seguno, I think about 2 months ago now. And because it wasn't working, and it was, in terms of the mechanical side of things, or the setup side of things, we just couldn't get things to work right, and we were actually losing subscribers. And as part of coming over back to Seguno, what we were doing was sort of doing some alpha A/B testing to see, hey, we've got all these customers that we haven't emailed for a long time. Let's retry them again. And actually, the guys were super helpful, helping me actually do this. And hey, we're going to lose a bunch of subscribers, but we're sort of planning to lose those ones. They are customers that haven't been active for a while, but hey, just in case, let's send an email out to them and see if we can get them back into the fold as such, to get them back as customers. So yeah, we're still, I guess, in that journey of working out, what are we doing that's keeping customers engaged? What are we doing that's making people unsubscribe, or maybe annoying people? So yeah, I guess that we're still on that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, trying to engage old customers is never easy. And we had it with a client recently where they got I think it was like a 20% unsubscribe rate on an email that I had suggested they send. They're like, this has been a complete failure, Nick. And I was like, no, it's been great. We've got rid of all the dead wood now. And it was like, and then they kind of went, that's a good point, actually. And I sort of said, you've literally just emailed them an offer to an exclusive range ahead of something else happening, and saying, we just want the answer to one question, and we'll give you the biggest discount we've ever given anyone. And with a 20% unsubscribe rate. Good. Deadwood's gone. These people do not want to work. There's nothing that can be done to engage these guys. The people that are left, though, we also had about 40% of the audience did answer the question, which now means we've got some segmentation coming up. So, although we don't do email ourselves, it's some clients where we're like, those guys, they're like 85% reliant on PPC at the moment, and 15% on SEO, which we also do for them. So we're sitting in that position going, you need email, you need repeat customers. This is all too expensive. That's why you're not making any profit. So those numbers are scary. But again, as I say, it's like the dead wood. We've got rid of the dead wood now. The people that they were going to unsubscribe anyway, there were loads of undelivered as well. People that I would have been right. Did their email, didn't make it to them.
Nick, I'm like, mate, you've killed us. What have you done? 20% unsubscribe. Jesus.
Yeah, it wasn't 20% of their entire user base. It was just the unengaged guys. For context, yeah, I wasn't that rash. But we had also sent with the first one we sent out as well was to 500 people. It was very small to test it and go, right, we're going to lose this now. Let's do it to the sort of 5,000. See what happens next. But yeah. No, yeah, phone calls are good. Communication is really important. But I think, like you actually just said about Seguno, we lost some subscribers and we were ready for that. Having that consultative, this might happen. So when it does happen, A, you're not shocked by it. B, you understand what's really going on. And C, there's a plan afoot. I think is really important, having someone that can actually support you with it, which sounds like is exactly what you've got.
Yeah, look, it was, that actually having, going, okay, here's your, we've got 25,000 people that are on our database, and going, right, we're going to chop down a certain amount. Here's your deadwood. Here's the guys that haven't opened in 6 months. Hey, they're not going to be a customer in 12 months. They're definitely not going to be a customer. And actually chopping them off the email list was one of those things that never felt right. I was like, oh, this doesn't feel right. But at the end of the day, if they haven't opened an email in 12 months, are they ever going to open it again? The chances are no. Yeah. And you're going to have to, that deadwood, he's going to have to go. It's just, all you're doing is clogging up your email system, or, making it harder for emails to get through. And I'm still sort of trying to understand that, I know there is email filtering now that's done by Apple and Gmail as well. And, sort of learning that way that those things work is one of those things that's still, part of the learning journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, look, we're all the way through my questions. Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. First podcast. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you joining us.
It's a pleasure, Nick. Thanks for asking me to do the interview.
Awesome. And massive thanks to Seguno as well. They've all helped organise today's show. Anyone who's tuning in and hasn't tuned in before, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. We post pretty much every single Friday. We're going to continue this series for the next few months and look at some very complicated and different issues surrounding email and other parts of marketing as well. So make sure you stay tuned. If you've got any questions, hit up winningwithshopify.com, fill out any of the forms on the site and just say, guys, I've got a question. I will personally respond if I can. If not, one of my team will pick it up. But yeah, thank you for tuning in today. Back again next Friday. And we hope you have an amazing weekend. Thank you very much.